Hello and hi, we are from Group 8. My name is Nuriha binti Fauzi and my matric number is 302271. Today, in this presentation, our group will be presenting about Penang Port Sendirian Berhad. Penang Port is one of Malaysia's major seaports and it's strategically located along the Straits of Malacca, one of the busiest shipping routes in the world. Due to its strategic location, the port plays an important role in facilitating trade, logistics, passenger transportation and tourism activities, while contributing to the economic growth of the northern region of Peninsular Malaysia. Throughout this presentation, our group will provide an overview of Penang Port, including its company background, core services, business operation, and its contribution to Malaysia's maritime and logistic industry. Our group will also explain how Penang Port strengthens regional and international trade connectivity through continuous infrastructure development and operational improvement. So, let's begin with the company overview. That's all from me. Thank you.
So, we move to the company overview. Okay, for the company overview, Penang Port history began in 1786 when a Captain Franchise Light found it as a trading center for the British East India Company. So, thanks to the strategic location in the Strait of the Malacca, it grew rapidly and was declared a free port in the 1872. In 1956, its administration was formalized under the Penang Port Commission. Fast forward to 1994, Penang Port was established, and by 2018, it's become a fully privatized and customer-oriented entity. So today, it operates as a wholly owned subsidiary on the MMC Port, Malaysia's largest part operator. This backpacking gives a Penang Port access to strong financial and digital expertise. Their vision is to be a premier maritime portal for the northern region and the IMTGT. A major milestone occurred in 2021 when it announced Butterworth Container Terminal was declared a free commercial zone, which massive boosts its transship capacity. So beyond a logistic, the port is also a vital player in supporting a Malaysia tourism economy, which we will cover the next. Okay, we will look at the Penang Port Transportation Service and a vital role in tourism. So, on the industry side, the port handles extensive container transportation connecting the Far East to the Bay of the Bengal. It also provides the cargo logistics with a land bank for the regional distribution center, alongside comprehensive marine support like a pilotage and a bunkering. But for the tourism, Penang Port shines through a two-main infrastructure. First, in the historic Penang ferry service, operating since the 1894, it offers the scenic traffic-free route between the mainland and the island. So the second is the Southampton Pier Cruise Terminal or SPCT, following and the RM155 million expansion in a 2021. SPCT is now a Malaysian cruise terminal capable of docking two massive Aussies-class ships simultaneously. How exactly does it support tourism? It acts as a major catalyst for the cruise tourism. In early 2026 alone, it welcomed over 317 passengers. Accessibility is completely seamless because the terminal is just 200 meters from the city center and 50 meters from the UNESCO World site, allowing immediately heritage tour without needing a shuttle bus. Finally, this creates a lucrative shore economy for the local vendor and a transport operator. And they do this sustainable, enforcing a strict environmental policy to protect a Georgetown heritage.
Good morning everyone. For my part of the presentation, I will be walking you through the section 3.0, which is focusing on the planning strategies of the Penang Ferry. As we analyze their approach, we can see these strategies are built around routes, schedules, service coverage and accessibility. Starting with route planning and service coverage, Penang Port's primary strategy is maintaining a direct tourism link. The ferry connects Butterworth straight to the Georgetown UNESCO World Heritage Site, which allows tourists to completely bypass the heavy traffic on the Penang Bridge. To optimize this passenger flow, they made a strategic decision to dedicate the ferries exclusively to pedestrians and two-wheelers. By removing cars, they maximize passenger capacity and actively reduce traffic congestion within the heritage zone. Moving on to the scheduling and capacity management. The ferry operates at a very high frequency. They run 68 daily trips from 6:30 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. To manage crowds effectively, they plan for strict 20-minute intervals during peak hours and 30-minute intervals during off-peak hours. However, their smartest capacity strategy is transit synchronization. The ferry departures are specifically timed to align with the arrival of the KTM, ETS and commuter trains. This means domestic tourists experience a completely seamless, delay-free journey from the train directly onto the ferry. Moving to our next slide, we will look at accessibility and future development. In terms of accessibility and intermodal connectivity, the ferry excels at seamless hub integration. Over on the mainland, a covered 5-minute walkway directly connects the ferry to the Penang Central train and bus terminals. When tourists arrive on the island, the terminal exists directly at the Rapid Penang Jetty. This provides crucial first and last minute transit, giving visitors immediate access to the free CAT buses for heritage tours. The service is also highly inclusive, featuring standardized wheelchair ramps and offering free travel for OKU, card holders and children under 4. Finally, looking at sustainable tourism and future planning, the ferry naturally promotes green mobility by incentivizing pedestrian travel and public transit. It significantly lowers the carbon footprint of its passengers. For the future, Penang Port is planning a major terminal redevelopment. They aim to transform the terminal into a vibrant commercial hub featuring retail spaces and sustainable event venues. This will turn the transit point into a destination itself, allowing it to host MICE activities directly at the terminal and further reducing the need for additional tourist travel. Thank you. I will now pass the presentation to the next group member.
Hello everyone, my name is Alif. Today I am going to talk about the management strategies for Penang Port Sdn Bhd, which is operated under MMC Ports. Penang Ports play a huge role in tourism because it manages two major services, which is the cross-strait passenger ferries and the Swettenham Pier Cruise Terminal. To handle millions of local commuters and international travel every year, their management focus on structured operation and control, modern service delivery, strict safety rules, and great teamwork with other transport providers. Their main goal is to make sure tourist movement across the sea is smooth, fast, and height efficient. Next, let's look at how Penang Port manage its terminal operation and freight capacity. First, For cruise capacity scaling, they expanded their Swettenham Pier Cruise Terminal berth to at 120 meters. This allows the terminal to handle the biggest cruise ship in the world and up to 12,000 passengers at the same time without slowing down. Second, they are completely modernized their ferry service by replacing all the vessels with a new fleet of faster passenger ferries. This allows them to handle high volume crowds quickly. By actively managing this timetable and terminal space, the management successfully prevents crowding and shortens waiting times during peak holiday season. Now let's look at how they manage service delivery and customer experience. At the cruise terminal, Penang Port manage a massive 50,005 square meters space that directly integrates retail shops, duty-free stores, money changers, and convenience stores inside the building. This creates an intermediate tourism impact because tourists can shop and eat the moment they step off the ship into the Georgetown UNESCO World Heritage Zone. To keep improving, the management regularly review customer feedback to optimize passenger boarding path and upgrade terminal comfort so travelling is always a pleasant experience. Safety and security are top operational priorities for Penang Port. Because they handle international cruise ship, they manage border control smoothly by housing dedicated customs, immigration and quarantine or CIQ office right inside the terminal, alongside advanced X-ray screening machines. All operations are strictly executed in full compliance with the Penang Port Commission and Marine Security Law. To make sure they are always ready for emergency, the port conducts continuous safety training for staff and integrates on-site port police and fire response team for quick crisis handling. Let's look at how Penang Port coordinates with other transport systems. A brilliant strategy they use is syncing the ferry timetable directly with the KTMB Electric Train Service or ETS at the Butterworth Transport Hub. This intermodal synchronizing allows rail tourists coming from other states to walk straight from the train to the ferry and cross over to Penang Island seamlessly. Lastly, for environmental management, they are planning to install a shore power system. This will allow docked cruise ships to plug into onshore electricity instead of burning fuel, which significantly reduce carbon emissions in the heritage city. That concludes my part on management strategies. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ellie Lorena. My metric code number is 305916 and I will be presenting the marketing strategies for this Penang port. After looking at how Penang port manage the crowds and also the safety, let's move on to another important aspect, which is how they actually attract cruise tourists in the first place. Penang Port Commission and Penang Port SDM BHD, Sdn Bhd, have introduced several marketing strategies to make Swettenham Pier one of the top cruise hubs in Southeast Asia. Their goal is quite ambitious, which is to attract 1 million cruise passengers and around 170 international cruise ships visits by the year of 2026. So, the very first strategy is the home port strategy. Instead of just becoming a stop where cruise ships visit for a few hours, Penang wants cruise ships to start and end their journey here at the Penang port. Because this is important for tourists, because tourists will usually arrive earlier or stay longer after their cruise. As a result, they spend more on hotels, restaurants, and also shopping, which benefits our local economy. To support this plan, Penang Port signed an agreement with Huajing Travel and Tours, and the cruise ship Piano Land started its home port operations in Penang in last year, 2025. Besides improving the port itself, Penang also promotes its cruise tourism internationally. They take part in events like Sea Trade Cruise Global in Miami, where they meet cruise companies from around the world and introduce Penang as an attractive cruise destination. The government also plays an active role by meeting with major cruise operators such as Norwegian Cruise Line. These promotional efforts were successful because the Norwegian Sky made its first visit to Penang last year. Another strategy is to target new international markets. Instead of relying on the same group of tourists, Penang is now focusing on countries like India and also Indonesia. They even signed an agreement with the Indian Ports Association to encourage more cruise ships from India. At the same time, Penang promotes its own unique attractions. Since Swettenham Pier is located near Georgetown, tourists can easily enjoy the city's heritage, culture, and also the famous food as soon as they arrive. This makes Penang a more attractive cruise destination. Another strategy is to target new international markets. Instead of relying on the same group of tourists, Penang is now focusing on countries like India and also Indonesia. They even signed an agreement with the Indian Ports Association to encourage more cruise ships from India. At the same time, Penang promotes its own unique attractions. Since Swettenham Pier is located near Georgetown, tourists can easily enjoy the city's heritage, culture, and also the famous food as soon as they arrive. This makes Penang a more attractive cruise destination.
Hi, my name is Nurul Hazira binti Muhammad Nizam. My number matric is 302294. So, in conclusion, Penang Port is one of Malaysia's most important ports, supporting the country's transportation, logistics, trade, and tourism sectors. By providing services such as container handling, ferry operations, cruise terminal activities, and logistics, it contributes significantly to economic growth and connectivity. With continuous improvements in its infrastructure and technology, Penang Port is expected to remain a key gateway and an important contributor to Malaysia's maritime industry. That's all from us. Thank you.